Hi, I'm Alex Wilkinson, a university student at Loughborough studying sport and exercise psychology, and I'm currently on an internship with Sport and Communities, a community development organisation that supports all members of the community, from young to old, across a broad spectrum of needs. This podcast is part of the My Voice project, a national community lottery-funded programme that helps to give young people a voice in their community and a platform to input into creating change and social action. Thank you for taking the time to join me. Welcome to the My Voice podcast. I have here with me three guests who are all at different stages in their education to employment career. John, Ben and Dave.
Hi, I'm John. I'm a volunteer for Sport and Communities and I'm also a full-time college student.
Hello, my name is Ben. I've volunteered for Sport and Communities for about 3 years and now I'm currently on an apprenticeship doing primary school sports coaching.
I'm Dave and I'm the Insights and Evaluation Officer at Sporting Communities. I started with the company as a community coach 5 years ago and then moved on to be a development officer before having a change of career pathway.
So today we're going to be discussing issues around the coronavirus and the effects it has on education and work life. Obviously it's a hot topic at the moment and it's affecting us all. So first of all, do you think that schools should have closed sooner than the government ordered them to?
You know, we never knew how serious it would have got. We didn't know how big it was going to get over here.
With the coronavirus in the school, though, it should have, and I think it should have closed a lot sooner than as soon as we found out. And China did it over the coronavirus. We should have just followed in the same pursuit because everyone's got different health needs. Everyone's got different families, and all families have got their own health conditions, some more than others. So it all should have been depended on China and how much it affected the Chinese population. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I suppose the government gave advice and scientists did advise people to take the social distancing. But I suppose in a class of 30, you can't social distance.
I think they've done the right thing by shutting the schools when they did. Some were calling it for be earlier on. Some were calling it, saying it's the right thing to do. Some saying they shouldn't have closed it at all. I think they needed to have closed the schools at some point, and I think this is the right point because they're trying to slow the spread of this disease. And I think children are less susceptible to, as we know, children as far as we know anyway, children are less likely to suffer highly from this disease, but it's that transition to their grandparents. I don't agree. I just think they've done it at the right time now.
See, I'm gonna have to say against that because I think for myself, if I was younger in school, both my parents would be working. As a lot of pupils would find, once school finished, if they closed the schools much earlier, let's say as soon as the virus came to the UK, they decided to take mass action and close schools, you'd actually find that those kids would then have to be looked after by grandparents. Now, you're bringing children who may have carried it for a while because a lot of the symptoms don't show, and they're actually then going to their grandparents with it. So I think closing it later almost delayed this process of the spread from young people, because when they closed schools, it wasn't a lockdown, and you still had all the freedom where you could go to the parks and socialise. So you'd find a lot of pupils would be out of schools, maybe causing antisocial behaviour and actually acting worse.
But what happens if you got a special needs child who needs to go to their SEND school? What do we do then? Like, do they get sent to the SEND school? Because parents can't always, in, day out, all day, every day, cope and provide and do everything they need for their child. That's another part what we've got to look at, though. Like, how is that going to be affected? How are the SEND children going to develop and learn the stuff they need to learn in life? That's one thing what hasn't been opened or shown by the government currently.
Now, I've got a family member who is currently working for a special needs school in Stoke, and they've actually remained open because they are classed as a sort of vulnerable setting. I'm glad the schools closed when they did. However, the fact is that some children at home may not feel comfortable at home. They may feel that's kind of like a prison in their own family because of tensions that can rise in their family. It's like the school was kind of the safe haven.
I agree that a school can be a safe haven for majority of the children because they're away from home. It eases the tension within the families or any up and rising tension coming up, and they get out. That's a fresh breath air. A wet breath of fresh air. Sorry.
That's the one.
So that's the one. But that's how some children deal with it. Like go to school, get the head down, and get through it. But then there's others who go to school and don't really want to be there because they want to be at home with family.
As you know, I work in schools and we do come across a lot of children who are in that boat. Obviously, it makes you wonder sometimes, are they going to be comfortable for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, however long we have to stay at home?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and you've got to consider those that are in that possession. I suppose for me, how do you think the public are going to respond to homeschooling? Parents, they may have not even looked at some schooling books since they were at school themselves years and years ago, and it's changed so much. So how do you think they're going to respond to this homeschooling?
Well, I'm not a parent, and I think that you have to respect the gravity of expectation and pressure on a parent to not only now be a full-time parent, but also a full-time teacher and potentially a full-time worker still. If I had children, I wouldn't know how to school them at all, especially without the resources that schools have. I mean, I'm not particularly good at English, but I am good at sport. So by the end of isolation, they'd probably not have read a single book, but could do 100 keepy uppies and know how to score a fantastic goal on FIFA, for instance. They won't have a well-rounded education. I do think, though, that given the pandemic, a lot of children will feel scared, as will parents, and probably the best thing that parents can do is provide a safe environment for their families, as ultimately their well-being is the most important thing. However, I think there are people out there who are taking this homeschooling and actually doing some really good stuff. I've seen some fantastic stuff out, and the plans that people have put out for their children is phenomenal. The depth that they've gone into, actually, saying like 9 a.m. is breakfast time, then 9:30 we're starting science, we've got maths, but then we've got playtime. They actually go in the garden and playing games with them. It's fantastic.
To be fair, in every household there's different, so there's different abilities and capabilities throughout parents and children themselves. So one parent may not be as academically good as the children and might be more physically and hard labor work better in that sense. So with I've got brothers and sisters ourselves. My sister loves education. She loves to do it. So this has impacted her dramatically. But then my brother, he doesn't like the theory side. So he likes more practical based and being shown what to do and then doing it himself. So there's two different ways. So how does one parent deal with both of them? Like one who wants to do work on paper and one who wants to be shown and then do it himself or herself.
I mean, for you, John, you're a college student. How's it going to affect your final year in college?
Well, all my assignments have been getting done and through, and then getting double checked, triple checked, making sure I'm doing it to the highest standard I can do it possible. Not having the lectures to be shown what we are going over or what we've got to revise and learn. It's quite hard because you get an assignment and you're pretty much winging it at this point. So we're getting an email of this is what you got to revise from, and we're revising, and then we're not getting the assignments. Like I can't hand my assignments in and make them tip top, but like having this time off, yeah, I can do it all, but how do I give it forward and get my grade that I wanted and worked for?
There's also quite a lot of like final years at university and college. Like, I don't go college, but I just know through friends and what have you. But I know there's quite a few people like, you know, who go college in the final year, university, A levels, GCSEs, even all of that stuff, and all of them, like, they're not going to be able to do them, are they? Like, I think with A levels that they're actually going to look at like their theory work throughout the year or something like that.
Yeah, I think obviously a big decision from the government actually was to cancel all exams. I mean, that's huge. I don't think it's been done in modern times. I might be wrong, but they've decided to go ahead with coursework and predicted grades. And I know from myself, my predicted grades were actually a lot lower than my achieved grades, both at GCSE. And you've got to think of the amount of kids out there that could possibly achieve better results if they did take those exams. Or long term, the effects are massive because predicted grades, they're only a prediction. They're not a true reflection of what you could possibly achieve for your actual results. But then at A level, I do believe that predicted grades are much higher than a lot of people achieve because they're extremely difficult exams and a really hard time because you've got the pressure of trying to achieve to get into university.
So I didn't try my mocks because I didn't see the mocks as the actual thing, so I didn't try as much because I knew what I needed to learn, and that was not for me. I wanted to just get on with what I needed to do, so I went in. I didn't try as hard as I should have done. I still managed to pass my maths at least, but I'm resitting English, so as I'm resitting it, what do I do? Because on my college behalf, I got messed around with English, so I got told I was in English, and then I wasn't in English, sorry, and then I didn't attend, and then I think it was a month and a half ago, I got told I was back in English. So I've only had a month and a half, and I've barely had any work, and we've always had a substitute teacher. So how does my grade get affected? How does my classmates' grades get affected?
A lot of teachers are going to base those predicted grades off the mocks. So where would that put you? Where would that put in you instead? For a lot of kids, it's really affected them negatively. A lot of people don't try in the mocks.
My mocks really did reflect my GCSEs because they were poor on both levels.
I do believe it will help a lot of grades as well. A lot of kids really struggle under that exam pressure. You don't have to go through the whole rigmarole round studying every night, revising, because you're given that grade, you're given that predicted grade from your teacher.
That's really true, actually. Obviously, with the predicted grades, it's going to, like you say, it's going to be a blessing to some kids. However, for example, when I was in school, I was one of them kids who struggled under exam pressure myself. That's why I didn't do to the best of my ability in my GCSEs, and I didn't match my predicted grades. For instance, in English, I was predicted to get a 6, and when I actually got my GCSEs, I only managed to get a 3, for instance. So, however, with some kids, I believe if they did get the predicted grades that is higher than what they could achieve in the future, perhaps when they obviously leave school, go to college, will they struggle? Will they then struggle?
It reminds me of starting a football match and then whatever the score is at half time, that's the score.
As a university student myself, I know a lot of friends are trying really, really hard in their final year, but they're without the information that they need. They're without the data that they were meant to collect in laboratories or different experiments because they've been sent home, and they'll never get that time back. So universities are working really hard to try and help people, but at the end of the day, those lectures are missed, and this is their final year, this is their dissertation.
This coronavirus situation is affecting so many people so differently.
Yeah,
but people,
I also want to believe with the kids and obviously everybody else who's in college, uni, etc. I strongly believe they don't need just all the grades and all that to get them everywhere. Like, for instance, like you lot, my story where I did none of my grades had anything to do with me getting where I am today, if you understand. So I believe this is really for the year 11s especially. If they don't get what they want, but obviously the grades they expected to get. Don't give up on what you want. Don't just leave it at that, because there's plenty of other options to get you in that position where you want to originally get. It's just all about not giving up at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And for you, Ben, you've started an apprenticeship this year.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? How has it affected you immediately? Because this is time in your apprenticeship that's obviously crucial. This is your first year in it, right?
Yeah, it's my first year. Started in September, purely because I didn't get to come back at college. So I went looking around, and then I got in the position where I am right now, with an apprenticeship of going into multiple different schools throughout the day, delivering PE lessons, after school clubs, etc. And yeah, I went from doing about 32, 33 hours a week to absolutely nothing because of this virus. And it's like, obviously I'm still getting my pay because I'm on contracted hours, but I'm not getting the experience. And that's obviously, when I'm on the apprenticeship, that's what I'll need the most.
Yeah. I think for myself on a placement as well, I've been working with sporting communities for the past 6 months, getting involved in a lot of the community sessions, and also working in the office. Now, I love the social aspect of work and being in an office environment and being able to work with my colleagues on a one-to-one basis. We've had to adapt and obviously come online and use different platforms to have meetings. So I suppose for a lot of people, working from home's put on an added pressure on in a different kind of way.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's interesting that you talk about the workplace environment. For me, that opportunity to work from home is fantastic. However, some people have not got that opportunity. Some people have got, have been laid off. I've got friends who are twiddling their thumbs at the moment, wondering what to do. I've got another. Exactly, and I've got another friend. I've got another friend who's trying to come up with a new business venture. At the moment. So you look at it and you go.
It's also affecting colleges with that as well, like with practical based work. So my practical based work cannot be done at home because you're with holding E. coli, M. luteus. So we can't really do that at home because it has to be a controlled environment with experts doing it as well. So we're all affected by it because we can't do stuff at home. Like, I can't just whack out a Bunsen burner and get some bacteria and start growing it for a week and then kill it off and then dispose of it quickly.
That's some homework. That is some.
That is some homework. Imagine being said that as your homework. You got to grow your own bacteria.
But yeah, that's like exactly to the point with college as well as the work environment. Like you say, John, you can't obviously whack up Bunsen burner, get some bacteria, etc. Like the same with like obviously coaches like Dave, you as well, and of course you, Alex, as well. We can't exactly just because obviously we're not coaching at the minute because of the whole coronavirus issue. We're literally we can't exactly go in the back garden and whack a few cones out and do the rock paper scissors game, can we?
No, but I think school as a whole is a respite for a lot of kids, and that's their social aspect. But the workplace, I think, for a lot of adults, that's their respite. That's the workplace. They actually go in and they enjoy who they work with, and they have a socialise, and they get on with their work, but they enjoy what they do. I like to think that a lot of adults enjoy their work. Me especially, I love engaging at these community sessions and also in the workplace. So home and work, I don't think work well for a lot of people. You have to learn work in a different way. And where I work is where I sleep. I work in my bedroom and I sleep in my bedroom and I chill in my bedroom. So you end up staying in one room.
You're living in your bedroom, basically.
So obviously I've got to go out for those that one run a day that we're now allowed.
You stick to the rules, but getting locked away for going out for a run, and then imagine going out shopping and going for a run.
But I think you'd only get
I like-
fined. I don't think they'd
it's-
imprison you, but I think you would receive a fine. But
They're not exactly going to like pin you down with CCTV constantly, are they?
I don't know. I had a police helicopter going over ours yesterday, and it
yeah, I
felt
don't
like
think that was to find you running twice.
Dave's out on his
It's-
second run. Quick, go get him.
no. I think it's to stop me doing a coaching session in back garden. I think that's what that was.
But yeah, back to what you said, Alex, about workers. Some workers might not enjoy being at home that much, so they like to get to work because it obviously takes them away from that home situation. But I'm to some extent in that category because obviously when I'm sitting at home doing nothing, it's just boring, and then there's just nothing to do whatsoever. When I'm at work, I'm in the element, I'm doing what I want, I'm obviously teaching my P lessons, and then even when I'm done with P lessons, I'm going to have to go to another school to go do another P lesson. So like, I'm never like doing nothing.
Yeah, I definitely. I like.
I agree. I see.
That's a big thing, isn't it? Though you get. How can you keep home life and work life separate when your work life and your home life combine? And I think that's the big question. Like, how do you separate that? Because I know a lot of people who can only work, who only find it better working, going to a place of work and then coming back. It's that being able to adapt, isn't it, that's really critical, because I feel like there's too many temptations at home, and I think that's the problem. Is I'm working from home now, and I work from home. But I'm literally sat next to the Xbox. I'm literally sat next to me. I've got my dog wanting to play next to me, and I'm ignoring.
What you're trying to say is productivity is going out the window for you personally, Dave, is it?
Well, no. I'd like to say it's increased, but however, it is very tough because there is that situation where you feel like you're at home, and
luckily
when you're at home,
you don't have kids coming in and out. A lot of parents, a lot of adults are going to be working from home with kids at home, and they've got to be keeping them entertained. And
I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a guy on the BBC News, and his child came wandering into an interview while he was live on TV, and a nan had to run in after him and drag this child away from him. I mean, we've seen it a few times already.
Everything's just all gone into one big bag. So, like, for people with kids, obviously, if you can give the kids their attention, then it's school time. Then for them, it's work time. And then obviously pick them up from school, then it's back to play time. But instead, they're literally putting all the eggs in one basket.
And you've also got to be appreciative of the situation that we find ourselves in, where we're all healthy in this, and we've got food and the basic necessities and everything at home. You have to think about others that might not be in that situation. And I suppose on a more serious note, do you think more should have been done for the families where children were entitled for free school meals? As we know, there's a big proportion of children at school where they get the free school meals with lunch. And that meal for them is a really vital meal. It might be one of the most nutritious meals that they find in their day. So I saw the cooperative are offering a £20 food voucher, but what more could be done from the government or even as communities, do you reckon?
Wasn't there something out there about some people volunteering to like drop food off, like elderly and what have you? I think like they should like make some form of like category, like obviously to the kids that are entitled to free school meals as well, for instance. If they were going to open a food bank for them as well, also.
I think you're right there. I think we've got to be cautious of, we are on lockdown at the moment, so actually going out and dropping food off can be a risky business still. And I think there's got to be precautions in place if that was to happen. However, I think it's just a way of alleviating the financial pressures that come with, particularly with children who struggle to get the value nutrition during school holidays. This is in effect the same. They are, apart from they're being told to stay indoors. Families, would normally have services they could access to support their needs around this particular agenda. However, there isn't that. And I think there's got to be some sort of respite for families.
Yeah, I mean, as we see during school holidays, there's a lot of holiday hunger programs that run. Sporting communities themselves do a cook, eat and play provision where children are provided with one nutritious meal, and obviously there's games involved. Now, if children are at home, children and young people that are in school are at home for 2, 3, 4 weeks, the demand on the household, even on all utility bills, but especially food bills, there's such a pressure on that, in the sense of they need more food, but there's less available in the shops. So a lot of people sadly will be going short of the diet of what they need. And when you're trying to stay healthy and fight such a vicious virus such as coronavirus, you do need to have a healthy diet. So I think there should be more done on a local council level, maybe, or government, to be helping and supporting those children.
Supermarkets are closing a lot earlier than they usually do. They have a limit to, isn't it, 3 per customer?
3 items per customer, that's right,
customer.
Yeah, I think it's reduced down to 2 and 1 on some things. I think it's only 1 packet of paracetamol, but other items, yeah, it's
all
2.
of that. But what happens if you have a big family, like you've got 5, 6 people in your household? 1 pack of paracetamol will not go through a household of 6. So it's like sometimes they need leniency, right? If you can prove that you have a household more than like a 3 or 4, because I've seen people go into the shops and come out with a 4-pack of toilet roll because that's all there's left. And I know them personally, and they've got a big family of 7 people in the house, and it's like 4 toilet roll won't go through 7 in the up and coming closures of the weeks going by. But then it's, how do we help support that and like stop people to bulk buying, so go from one shop to another? Because I've noticed people are doing that, going from Lidl to Aldi to Sainsbury's and bulk buying everything from different stores.
I get that, like, people are like bulk buying things. I can understand the panic that is being, the media has a lot of influence on that. But bulk buying toilet rolls for me doesn't make sense.
It's mainly the media.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the media's instilled this into the British people, and you find
500,000 cases.
You find across Europe. You find across Europe now that they're not struggling with things selling out. Their supermarkets are calm. The people are obviously in lockdown and closures, but they go to the supermarket with one person of that household goes and buys for the whole family, might even buy for a neighbour if they're elderly or not able to get out. Now, you don't have hundreds of people queuing outside of supermarkets, but it's all going to change, and we'll discuss many more topics over the next few weeks during lockdown. But I'd just like to say thank you very much for joining us today, guys. So big thanks to Ben, Dave and John. We'll be back to discuss
no worries, been a pleasure.
Topics.
No worries,
thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Perfect. I will see you soon for another podcast.